Good evening, I'm Colleen Taggart.
And I'm Taylor Hart. This week on Changing Times, we have been talking about climate change.
At the end of each of our segments, we have opened our lines for viewers to email us in questions, concerns, comments, or anything they want to know or say about climate change that they want to get out to the public. This week, after last night's segment, we got an email from an individual who wanted to talk about chimpanzees. At first, we weren't really sure what this individual wanted to talk about, but then we kept reading through the email, and he brought up the point that chimpanzees are very similar to humans. In fact, they are 98% the same. They're one of our closest primates. So they wanted to know more so about, interested in how chimpanzees adapt to climate change, just like humans. Is it similar? Do they face similar things? Like, how exactly does that work out? So, I mean, chimps is a kind of, I know some things about chimps, but
Some facts about
yeah.
some chimps. There's about 100,000 to 200,000 chimpanzees left in the wild. Chimpanzees are among the most threatened primates in Africa, and then some reasons why the chimpanzees populations are decreasing would be deforestation, human population growth. We're going in there taking their habitat from them. Diseases. Chimpanzees aren't able to adapt as quickly as we are. When we get a cold or something, it affects them much more. And then finally, obviously, droughts from the climate change that's happening right now.
That's right. Droughts, wildfires, deforestation, all stuff is knocking out their habitat, and we're contributing to that because we go in there and we knock it out and we build development and we go in there and we take away their food because they're primarily vegetarians, so they eat off the leaves and the fruits and everything that grows. So they're having issues with that, and we're taking it more away from them. But to get a closer look at what the chimps' lifestyle is really like, one of our field reporters, Jana Drummond, is in Bend, Oregon right now at Chimp Inc. And she is there looking at the chimps and figuring out what their habitat is like.
Well, let's take a look.
And we're here with Allie Morgan at her Chimps Inc. looking more into climate change. So Allie, you want to tell us more about your chimps and your sanctuary and about the climate change and how it affects chimpanzees?
Of course. Well, we have 8 chimpanzees here. We also have 2 lynx, a pig, and a chicken, and we are an animal sanctuary. So a sanctuary is a place for any animal, it doesn't have to be chimps, to live out the rest of their lives in peace. And quite often, animals end up at sanctuaries because humans have interacted with their lives in a negative way and either taken away their habitat or made them unfit for their natural habitat. So we have chimps that cannot go back to the wild because they've been humanized, raised by humans. They've never had to work to get their food. So we can't bring these chimps back to the wild. They have to live here for the rest of their lives. Wild chimps, on the other hand, have entirely different problems. They face extinction in the wild because of humans encroaching onto their habitat. So we're encroaching, using more and more land for agriculture as there's overpopulation and more people need the land. There's also logging, so cutting down trees and removing forests, and that's their home. That's where they live. So their habitat is shrinking. Also, not just humans, other animals who have been displaced, perhaps by climate change or perhaps by human encroachment. So just the environment for animals all over the world is shrinking. It's very sad. But we share 98.76% of our DNA.
Do we really?
98.76. Chimps are our closest living relatives,
Okay.
and chimps are more closely related to us than they are to gorillas.
Wow.
Yeah. This is one of our gardens. We have 2 gardens here at Chimps Inc. where we grow food for the animals, and their enclosure is right here so they can actually see the food and point out what they want. We do have trouble with our garden. The climate here in Oregon isn't always perfect for growing the vegetables and fruits that we want. Stress. You see our chimps really don't have enough space, getting nervous, and it's really similar to a human that you would see.
Climate change, you see that there's a lot of anxiety with humans themselves and just being depressed and ignoring the fact. Do you think that it could potentially carry over with the chimpanzees and that because they share similar emotions?
Certainly.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us.
Wow, thank you, Jenna.
Yeah, that was great, Jan.
That was interesting. It's interesting because we're seeing that chimps in other countries such as Africa and things like that, places like that, are having issues with climate and drought or too much rain or too little rain. But it's happening here in Bend.
Yeah.
She just said their garden, they have trouble growing with their gardens and whatnot. So it's interesting that it's also, even though the animals are being taken there to be cared for, but they're having issues with their food as well. So it just puts into perspective how much harder it actually is for the chimps that are out there and don't have the help from the caretakers.
Yeah, it's very scary to see that that's happening here. Definitely, I mean, people they need to be informed of what's going on, and hopefully this can help in that situation.
Absolutely. I mean, she mentioned a ton about a lot of contributors to why they're going extinct is because of human activities, logging, mining, agriculture encroachment. We're trespassing and we're taking away from them because we need it. And I mean, we live in a very selfish, somewhat society that, you know, people don't think that their actions are going to affect anyone else. So it's definitely interesting. It's sad, but things are happening, and I think what needs to happen is we need to be more aware of what's
Definitely.
going on.
Definitely.
Yes. Well, that's it for tonight. Thanks for joining us, and just always remember, times are changing.
Stay classy.